Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a special video. This one is going to be a look back at movies in 2019, from the good, controversial, and mixed to the bad. So there won't be any video game review for this week, though. Do want to do some good, bad, controversial, and mix, and of course my top 10, mostly on the PS4 and Nintendo Switch. But for this one, we're going to do the movies ones. Don't worry, I'm still doing game reviews and all that stuff. But anyway, we'll get started with this one about movies in general. And 2019 had some hits and misses, though. I mean, there were some big moments, like movies that people were waiting, that have been following for quite some time, like the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to surprises that some people didn't think would become a box office hit, like, say, Joker and so forth. But we also had some controversial stuff, such as Rotten Tomatoes decisions in regards of user response and all that stuff, to movies that really did not do well at all, that like bombed really bad at the box office and so forth. So why don't we start off with the first one, and that has to do with the good. So what was good this year in 2019, at least from my perspective, though? Well, it looks like smaller movies actually did very well in 2019. While these may not be the big blockbusters like Marvel or DC in general, though, nevertheless, they found an audience in general. Movies like, of course, John Wick Chapter 3, that sat well with audience and critics, and that did well at the box office. Two of the movies I saw, Uncut Gems and Knives Out, did really good at the box office in general. Last time I checked, Knives Out, I think, passed a little bit over 200 million, though, and that was a good movie in general. It was like one part murder mystery, one part dark comedy, where Uncut Gems basically became, basically also did well. The Adam Sandler sort of suspense and thriller movie that he starred in, which I'm kind of surprised him doing a kind of a role like this and all, but that's not to say it's a bad thing. I certainly don't mind seeing him doing these kinds of movies in general. And of course, we've even had smaller movies that, while probably I'm not the target demographic, nevertheless found its audience and did very well at the box office. That was Little Women, considering that the main demographic I think aimed towards was obviously women in general, though. The film did very well at the box office, though. That one did well too. So yeah, some smaller movies did very well at the box office. Moving on, both DC and Marvel had something to celebrate this year, though. For DC, they had 3 hits, though. Aquaman crossed the 1 billion mark and did very well. Shazam, I think that one did, even though that had like a smaller budget. The big surprise was Joker, a movie that was basically a low-budget movie, but managed to cross the $1 billion mark. And honestly, I'm glad that film did very well. I saw that in theater. I thought Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was kind of like a spiritual successor to the late Heath Ledger's Joker. And while there was some concern about the possibility that there may have been some intimidators that might dress up as the Joker and probably go on a shooting rampage, like what happened in 2012 in Aurora, Colorado, when the premiere of The Dark Knight Rises happened. The good news is nothing like that happened at all when Joker came out, and I think that definitely was a good thing. But either way, Joker was definitely really good. So DC had some success, even though I still prefer that they do their own cinematic universe. I still think a DC cinematic universe could work had they not like rushed to play catch up with Marvel and all that stuff. But for now, DC seems to be doing very well. Over at Marvel, however, they had a really good 2019, to be exact. Spider-Man Far From Home, the first post-Endgame movie that came out, did really well at the box office, to be exact, and the ending kind of left a little cliffhanger of how things are going to sort of play out in general. We also had Captain Marvel, which, despite some of the controversies and all that of people, some people out there going as far as pushing the Take the Anita challenge, which was pushed by, I think, a conservative right-winger from Fox News and so forth. The film still did very well and crossed the 1 billion mark. I saw Captain Marvel. I thought it was good. I don't think it was perfect. I don't think it's the greatest Marvel film out there, but to me, it was as good as a Marvel Phase 1 movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing or anything like that. It's just didn't knock me off the socks the way in Infinity War, Endgame, or the first Avengers, or Captain America Winter Soldier did. But nevertheless, I enjoyed it. I'm aware of the controversy and so forth, but I really could care less about the whole controversy whatsoever. And of course, the big one, of course, was Avengers Endgame. The big one that for a lot of MCU fans like me were waiting for to see. And to me, it was a fitting conclusion to the first 3 movies. For a while, it was a guessing game how things were going to play out following the events in Infinity War and so forth. And while some of the rumors that came out were true, some of them weren't. But in either case, it did not disappoint in any way. Obviously, some characters like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, obviously his character is done and so forth, which, although I've heard he could come back or something like that, but who knows if that will happen or not, though. It's sad to see some of the characters go, but it's understandable especially if they want to move on and do other things. Actors want to do other things and so forth, but either way, Avengers Endgame was a fitting conclusion to the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, Disney had their own success outside of Marvel and Star Wars in general. Movies like the live-action Lion King and Aladdin did very well. Meanwhile, Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2 also did well at the box office. Again, Frozen 2, I'm not the target demographic and so forth, but nevertheless, people still like it. People saw it. Excuse me. And people did enjoy it. So Disney obviously had a very good 2019 and certainly made a lot of money. Whether they could recreate that kind of success that they did in 2019, some analysts believe that probably won't happen again. And it's possible it may not happen again and so forth, but we never know. But either way, 2019 was certainly good for Disney in general. And last but not least, Star Wars, though, which I would say it kind of made the tail end of part 1 for me in terms of the good. And that has to do with 2 things, though. Rise of Skywalker and The Mandalorian, though. Rise of Skywalker, make no mistake, is controversial to a lot of people and so forth. Honestly, I still stand behind my view on it. I think I enjoyed it. I think it was the best Star Wars movie in the new trilogy, and I am going to stand behind that no matter what, though. No matter what. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the original trilogy is still the best one of all, but I definitely did like Rise of Skywalker. I liked a lot of the fan favorites, though, and it was nice to see the actor who played Emperor Palpatine return and all this stuff. What they do after the Rise of Skywalker in terms of future Star Wars film remains to be seen. Maybe they'll do a new trilogy that takes place, maybe say, and I'm just throwing something out there, 100 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, but who knows. Meanwhile, the launch of Disney Plus certainly did go out strong thanks to the help of The Mandalorian, which is loved by a lot of people. I saw all 8 episodes, and it is good. This is definitely one of the shows to watch on Disney Plus indeed. So it certainly helped Disney Plus launch with The Mandalorian, though, although some people are now canceling their subscription because The Mandalorian is done, at least until season 2, which is fall of 2020, so unfortunately we're going to have to wait that long. But in either case, The Mandalorian was definitely fun, definitely enjoyable to watch. So, Star Wars, Mandalorian was a success. Rise of Skywalker, obviously it's doing well at the box office. It may not make as much as, say, like what The Last Jedi did, but I doubt it's going to be a box office flop. I think it will continue to do well. One thing I do think was kind of odd, however, was some people, and again, not everybody was doing this, but there were some out there that wanted, obviously, there were some that did want chance to overtake Rise of Skywalker, because there were some people who really, really hated what Disney was doing to Star Wars. And, well, yeah, that didn't work out as well. So I will say Star Wars certainly had a good 2019 in general. Rise of Skywalker, I don't disagree, it's mixed by a lot of people, but I still enjoyed it, and I think it did very well at the box office. Mandalorian definitely sat well with a lot of people. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2. And this one has to do with the, what I view as the controversial and the mix. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our look back at movies in 2019, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at the controversial and mixed ones that I certainly got a lot of attention, sometimes for the wrong reasons, and some of it could be the results were kind of a mixed bag. Maybe not as bad as some people thought it would be, but not as good as some were hoping for. The first one, I know no matter how I'm going to say this though, some people are not going to like how I say it, or may think I'm, like the whole evil SJW feminazi crap that I hear a lot of people, that some people like to wave that card around on a daily basis. And that is, of course, Alita Battle Angel. Now, this movie came out at around the same time as Captain Marvel came out, and well, there were many issues with the movie. One, obviously, is based off the manga, which obviously not everyone knows about the manga and so forth. Some of it, there were reports of issues with, there were like maybe production issues and all that stuff. I don't know how much of that was true or not. And of course, the big one was there were those who did not like Brie Larson's comments that she made in terms of the review of A Wrinkle in Time, to the point where people were pushing the hashtag Take the Anita Challenge, even by one of the conservative hosts on Fox News. And again, we're talking about Fox News in general. So basically try to push that hashtag. In other words, to try to push to make the movie bomb and all that, to make Captain Marvel bomb and so forth. In the end, Captain Marvel did not bomb. It became a box office success, while Alita Battle Angel, well, it looks like the results were mixed. It didn't exactly flop, but it didn't become the box office success that some were hoping for. And the sad thing was, this was the last movie from 20th Century Fox, which, as some of you are aware of, Fox got bought up by Disney and so forth. As for whether or not Alita Battle Angel will ever get a sequel or not, that remains to be seen. I mean, if a sequel happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Maybe they'll do a sequel with a smaller budget. Maybe they'll do a sequel and probably put it on, say, Disney streaming service, Disney Plus. Well, we'll have to wait and see if a sequel ever happens. As far as the movie in general, I got a chance to see it on my flight, or shall I say a long flight, from Germany back to the US. And honestly, and I know there are going to be people that probably will hate what I have to say. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I thought it was alright. It didn't really click with me as much, all that stuff. I mean, if you liked it, fine, you liked it. Honestly, it just didn't interest me or anything like that. Maybe I didn't read the manga, or maybe I never read it or anything like that, but it just didn't click to me as much as, say, the live-action Ghost in the Shell movie did, which, that movie, I didn't think it was terrible or awful or anything like that, but I would say if you were to ask me which one's better, I would say the anime is better than the live-action adaptation. So, in either way, Alita Battle Angel, while it doesn't sound like it was a box office bomb, but it didn't become the success that some people were hoping for or anything like that. And last but not least, the other controversy mix has to do with Rotten Tomato. Now, Rotten Tomato, for me, I don't dismiss Rotten Tomato in general. I'm not ignoring it though, but at the same time, I often view Rotten Tomato as this. I don't think they're right all the time, but I don't think they're wrong all the time either. What I don't do is weaponize Rotten Tomato like some on social media or even on YouTube, who basically, if a movie doesn't go their way, they'll claim, oh, Rotten Tomato is biased. But when a movie does go their way, or a movie they want to fail so badly does, they'll point to, see, Rotten Tomato said this, we should listen to Rotten Tomato. So I certainly condemn anybody that weaponizes Rotten Tomato. Well, earlier this year, Rotten Tomato made a change to one of their policies, which is basically the fact that for now on, people can't write comments or reviews of a movie that hasn't come out in theaters yet. This had to do in response to Captain Marvel and Star Wars The Last Jedi and other movies where some people were using those sections to at least according to the reports coming out, racial slurs or sexist comments or even inappropriate comments in general. And to some degree, and I know not everyone will agree with me on this, but to some degree, I kind of have to side with Rotten Tomato on this, though. Yes, I do think there's a concern, it does raise a concern of taking certain reviews down, but I also understand the argument why. Why are you posting a review for a movie you haven't seen yet that hasn't even come out in theaters or anything like that? I mean, again, I'm not a big fan of review bombing or anything like that. I oppose it downright in general and all that stuff. And I can understand Rotten Tomato doing this in terms of people who are review bombing a movie that they haven't seen, or review bombing it even before it hits even theaters and all that stuff. So to some degree, I kind of have to side with Rotten Tomato to a certain degree, not 100% and all that stuff. Not everyone agrees with Rotten Tomato's decision on this, but I mean, it is what it is, though. Obviously, this isn't going to be the end of people review bombing it. Even with this change, people will always try to review bomb a movie. Then again, they'll do the same thing on Metacritic. And like I said, I oppose review bombing altogether. But in either case, it seems as though Rotten Tomato made a change of their policy in terms of user response and all that. Whether you think that's good or not, obviously everyone's going to have their different view about it, but make no mistake, it certainly was controversial, and the response to it was obviously mixed. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get back. We're going to get to part 3, and we're going to take a look at the movies that were unfortunately bad. Just really bad. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our look back at movies in 2019. So for the third part, we are now going into the bad. These are movies that, unfortunately, well, let's just say some of it didn't sit well with audiences, others that failed to meet the expectations studios wanted to meet. And there were certainly a lot of movies that did not meet those expectations throughout 2019, but there were some that really caught a lot of people's attention. Obviously, the first one to bring up is Charlie's Angel, a reboot of the one that was done by Lucy Liu and Drew Barrymore, I think back in like the early 2000s and all that stuff. And that one didn't seem to catch on with audiences, though. Even if the target demographic was women in general, it still wasn't enough to do well at the box office. Hellboy 2019 obviously did not do very well, and it was so bad that eventually I think Lionsgate pulled the film entirely from the theater, which is really unfortunate, though, because obviously it would have been better if they finished off Del Toro's trilogy and did a Hellboy 3 and so forth. I mean, the first and second one, I did enjoy those movies, though, so really disappointed. Obviously, the reboot of Hellboy did not sit well with everyone there. Dark Phoenix, unfortunately, did not do well at the box office, as supposedly the final chapter in 20th Century Fox's X-Men series that started in the year 2000 and so forth. I didn't see the movie, unfortunately, so I don't really know how I feel about it, but it's really sad this is sort of the end. It's really sad this is sort of ended on a sour note for 20th Century Fox take on the X-Men series, though. We now know that Marvel Kevin Feige is now developing a Fantastic Four and an X-Men for the upcoming to be put into the MCU. Hopefully, he'll handle those better than how Dark Phoenix was handled, and even better than how the Fantastic Four movies were handled, including the last one, often known as Fan Four Stick, and the amount of mess that was in, to be exact. Of course, Terminator Dark Fate, unfortunately, did not do well at the box office, which is a shame because, to me, I didn't hate Terminator Dark Fate. I thought it was a good movie, though. I certainly thought it was better than Rise of the Machine. I certainly thought it was better than Salvation, even though I think Salvation had the right idea. It was poorly executed, and certainly I thought slightly better than Terminator Genesis, though. But obviously, it wasn't as good as, say, the first Terminator or Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And I think some of it is that the franchise people are not interested in that franchise anymore, or the fact that the last 3 Terminator movies bombed and did not sit well with audiences. So, unfortunately, Terminator Dark Fate, even with the return with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton playing Sarah Connor, obviously it wasn't enough to do well at the box office. And that's really a shame. It really is. Like I said, I didn't hate the movie. I thought it was good, just not as good as the first or even Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And last but not least, of course, Cats. Apparently, based off Andrew Lloyd Webber's Broadway musical. As a side note, I'm not really into Broadway musicals or anything like that, though. The film did not do well at the box office. It was clear that there was a hope to turn this into, like, what The Showman did, though, which is the person who directed Cats did the Great Showman. I believe that's what I think that's the name. And I think the one who did the Les Miserables one. But obviously, it did not sit very well in theaters, and it was so bad that now Universal is pulling the movie from being recommended for any Academy Awards or anything like that, or any awards in general. On top of that, you have a situation which is, to me, this is to me the first time I ever heard a movie studio do this before. Basically update the visuals in the movie even after it came out. I mean, compare that to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, though. We don't know if that movie will do well or not, but at least I gotta give props to Paramount for at least delaying the movie to update Sonic, fix him from the first trailer, which it looked like they just had to come up with something very quickly, and actually put time and effort into the character. The second trailer, he certainly looks way better than he did in the first trailer. So, at the very least, Paramount is delaying their movie to actually fix Sonic. Whether that pays off at the end or not when the movie finally comes out, who knows? But after you release a movie, update the visuals. I mean, basically release a newer version with updated visuals. It's like, that's a first. That is literally a first for any movie studio to do that. And that is just bizarre on so many levels. Either way, it wasn't enough to basically help save Cats. And unfortunately, it kind of became a box office bomb for Universal. I mean, again, I'm not a musical person. I'm not into Broadway musicals or anything like that. Never really clicked with me. I'm sure there is an audience that do like those kind of movies, but it wasn't enough to do very well. And it's unfortunate. I mean, it's really unfortunate. I mean, I'm sure Universal had some good movies that came out this year, but obviously they were disappointed with, Cats. Okay, this concludes this video of me taking a look back at movies in 2019, the good, the controversial mix, and the bad. And again, these are my opinion, of course. What are yours? what are your thoughts about movies in 2019? Do you think Star Wars did well in 2019, despite the mixed reaction to Rise of Skywalker? Do you think Marvel and DC had a good year? Do you think Disney in general had a good year in 2019? Were there other small movies that you thought did well in 2019? What about Alita Battle Angel, though? Do you think that Alita Battle Angel will get a sequel in any way? Do you think Rotten Tomato was right to change their policy in regards of, like user reviews or user response before a movie even came out? And what are your thoughts about the movies that bomb really bad? Were you disappointed to see Charlie's Angel bomb, or Hellboy 2019, or even Dark Phoenix? Were you disappointed with Terminator Dark Fate not doing well at the box office, or even Cats in general, though? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day. Bye!